Lovely to meet you, André.
Likewise, Roland. Good to be here.
Yeah, thank you. And let me give you a brief explanation what we're here for. So my name is Roland Ulfstedt. With me here is André Rogaczewski. Am I pronouncing it right?
You're doing really good.
Fantastic. I think that's my Ukrainian side speaking.
Must
so
be.
There's a bit easier pronunciation on that side. But we're here I'm here on behalf of Nadija Foundation, developing mental health infrastructure in Ukraine, and in particular working on developing a virtual hospital, physical hospital, and a research institute. And why we're here with Netcompany is because they're one of our earliest founders of Nadija Foundation. And that is exactly why it would be really interesting to double click a little bit on your background. How does Netcompany relate to Ukraine? How do you relate to Nadija Foundation? Just explore the interplay a little bit more, and in a very relaxed environment, just as a dialogue. So don't be afraid to ask me questions back as well. I feel like I could also share a little bit more about what we are doing. But having said that, could you kindly give a brief introduction on Netcompany? Because I think, so I don't say anything wrong about what you guys are up to, because you're up to a lot of things. So in a nutshell, what does Netcompany do? So just to set the context.
Well, great, Roland, and thank you for setting this up as well. So I'm André Rogaczewski, as you know, and I'm the CEO of Netcompany. We are 10,000 employees, trying to become a real European tech giant, so to speak, digitizing Europe in a responsible way.
Yeah.
And also protecting Europe digitally and making Europe more competitive. I think this continent really needs to shape up when it comes to technology. And the company is also very much involved in creating a transparent and democratic Europe. And those values are the very same values that the Ukrainians are fighting for in Ukraine on behalf of Europe.
It is.
And very early on, we went into this project. I think it's genuinely a very interesting setup, where we're not only trying to help immediately in the current situation with the hospitals, as you mentioned, but also to gain experience and knowledge that can be used not only in this particular setting, but for the next many appliances too. So I think I'm really very proud in that company to have been one of the original founders of your great project.
No, thank you very much. Thank you very much. We're just beginning. It's been a lot of preparatory work, but the real impact begins as soon as in January. That's, I think, the most interesting one to also share here in the context of Netcompany, because one of the things, as mentioned, is the virtual hospital. And we are envisioning to launch it, the first minimal viable product, as soon as in January, so just in a couple of months.
Yes.
So it's been a lot of work and a lot of collaboration between the Nordics, Ukraine, and partners like you, and broader private sector of the Nordics in general. And it's going to be both building for today, but also for the future, as you mentioned. This is something that one has to keep in mind. And moving into the Ukraine question, I mean, it's been a very dramatic and shattering moment back in February 2022. So has that changed something also within you and within Netcompany? Can you just reflect on this day and this time a little bit? Because it's been some time now. Can you still sense a little bit of a change in the mindset or in workways or anything that comes to mind?
Well, obviously we were all very shocked on that day. It's been a conflict that has been building up actually since 2014, and from the very beginning, I think Ukraine played a very important role digitally in Europe. It's no secret that Ukraine is considered being one of the nations in Europe yielding some of the most talented, digital talented people in Europe.
I think in the world as well.
In the world, and we've been working
most or so.
Exactly. And we've been working together with Ukrainian professionals for many, many years. So of course it was obviously also a big shock for us that we are now actually in an open war situation. Having said that, I think to look at and that's difficult, but to look at the positive sides of this, I think the general mobilization of technical capabilities and also how to talk about sovereign IT and sovereign digitalization, that has changed a lot. And if we're sitting here in Copenhagen, you can actually see Ukrainian flags somewhere, right? So it has made everyone in Europe to seriously think about how sustainable and how we our IT solutions and our infrastructure, and how can we deal with it and make sure that we are resilient. Digitalization has become a force of both competitiveness but also efficiency across Europe. And we have realized, I think very much so, over the last 3 years that is one of the most important sources of creating growth, wealth, and security, right?
Yeah.
So that has changed, I think, not only in a big political game, but also for every individual person, people working on IT. I sense that. I mean, when I talk to our employees, and it doesn't really matter where they're sitting across Europe, they have this sense of purpose about building something that is resistant and resilient, and that can serve as a foundation for the societies that we all fight for. So it has definitely increased our focus on being, I mean, the whole purpose part is much more than, just slideware or something you say. It's actually something you feel.
No, exactly. I think it really takes, unfortunately, a major event like this to make you realize and sort of rediscover that purpose that perhaps was there in the beginning, and then once you get too comfortable, you sort of forget about it, and then it takes something like this to realize. And we will talk about the country at war, because now we're talking a lot about the Europeans' resilience and digital resilience and all that hangs with that. So what kind of role does it play at the country at war? Can it actually make an impact on the effort in a positive way? Or just if you reflect on the dynamics of having this digital resilience in the times of war?
Well, I think you need to obviously create resilient solutions. We only deal with something that is society critical from the beginning. I mean, the solutions that we create for European countries and European businesses, they are all very, very society critical. I mean, if our systems don't work, that particular company or that particular government will have problems. So that in itself, the nature of what we do, very regulated systems, very important systems, I mean, they are crucial for operating every day within our clients. But secondly, I think speed, time to market, make a difference fast, has also that type of consciousness about that has become very, very important. To deliver fast in a reliant way is extremely important nowadays.
Especially in Ukraine.
Especially in Ukraine.
Speed and urgency is key there.
No, absolutely. I'm very proud to say we've also been involved in delivering a customs solution for Ukraine to bring Ukraine closer to the EU. With customs, I mean import, export, transit. So we have a solution that we're using in 12 different European countries. And we donated that solution to the Ukrainians, who helped us setting it up together with our workforce, and then, making Ukraine digitally capable to trade more with the rest of Europe. So it's a kind of preamble for Ukraine to become a member of the EU. And it's a good idea to have the same systems as, many European countries have, because then it's easier to digitally trade and fight. You can actually originate where the products come from. You can look into what is imported, what is exported, in that sense create that transparency that is needed in order for us to trade with each other in an open and transparent way.
Exactly. Was that a complicated process?
Yes, I mean, it's these projects are generally quite complex, even though we have a standard product, which helps. So we have a standard product called RMIS, which is used for import, export, and transit of goods and digitally tracing them. However, it's still very complex. You can imagine, with all the partners involved, I mean, all companies declaring their goods and everything that goes in and out of a country. Obviously, that's complicated, but having a standard package, and I have to say a bunch of very talented Ukrainian people who were very eager to make that work. right? Which is also very important. I mean, when you have complicated projects or things that you want to accomplish, there are basically two things you really need in place. You need the ownership and the commitment from the people involved, and then you also need something that is prefabricated or at least works and has proven its value. And those two things together, and it came together, Ukrainians really wanting it, us coming with this particular piece of software, and together we accomplished this in a very short time frame, and now Ukraine is using our products for the customs declarations. So that's really, really good.
That's fantastic. No, it's great to hear about the efforts also on this side of the equation and not only on the, because helping on a humanitarian end, it's great, but also having on a more structural level, that's even greater. And I mean, that's our approach as well, because it's not a one-off support. We're also talking in terms of building up infrastructure, mental health infrastructure in this sense, perhaps.
Yes.
A little bit different from the customs in terms of but as big of an effect on a country, arguably.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And also curious to hear a little bit more about, because you're also a vocal supporter of Ukraine.
Yes.
And how does this manifest? If not through Netcompany, is it being a spokesperson, or is there any other projects that you're involved in, apart from Nadija as a founder, as Netcompany as a founder? And perhaps what has kept you going? Because this is an unfortunate fact that it's been going for 4 years now in Europe, and you have more and more differing opinions, and people are honestly either tired of it or choose to ignore it at this stage. So yeah, just to double click on your own connection and view on the war in Ukraine.
So I think there was a time before Ukraine and a time after, especially after the invasion, I think. There's been a mentality in most private large enterprises where we are not typically, a CEO is not supposed to be very political. We chose to have an opinion very early on in this conflict. And I think it's important to stress that companies that do digitalization, well, they also have a responsibility to have an opinion about what they do and have a belief in what is right or what is wrong. I think traditionally, historically, that has not been the case in many enterprise environments, especially in Europe. But that is the case now, and I'm actually happy about it. And I think as driving a company, it is extremely important to ask yourself the question every day: why are we doing this? I mean, obviously you want to be profitable. Obviously you want to be a company that is sustainable and can grow, and where you can define sort of future and for your employees and yourself as a company. But it is also important to always ask the question of where do you fit in a bigger play, both as a company and as human beings. And in that sense, I have not found it difficult to find motivation to go in and have a very firm opinion about what's going on politically here. And I have definitely not found it difficult either to keep that motivation. And even though, as you mentioned, after 4 years, it's tough, right? I mean, 4 years of conflict and war is something that has an effect on everyone. But looking into what we've been involved in, we made an application for the Polish NGOs to receive Ukrainian refugees when that was really very up in the time. Just after the invasion, a lot of Ukrainian families went to Poland and had to be administered by different NGOs and the Polish government. We helped in doing that as much as we could. We've been involved in the other project about the Ukrainian customs, and now in Nadija, as you mentioned. And this is just our humble contribution, besides obviously also to be very outspoken about what we do. Just recently we launched Vera, which is a platform for resilience, protecting critical infrastructure from foreign drone events. You can call them events or attacks or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
So we're very much involved in all these matters. But I think most importantly, you need to make sure that you're on the right side of history and that your beliefs are and your motivation is intact. And I haven't found that difficult. On the contrary, let's see what's going to happen over the next time to come. But we all hope that at least we can end up in a situation somehow where both Europe and Ukraine will prevail.
It can move fast and it can change fast. So hopefully it goes towards the side that it feels right. As said, being on the right side of history, I think that is essential, and hopefully the same will be for Ukraine, because obviously it's easy to be talking out when one is outside of it and talking about what one can do and not do, but it's essentially Ukraine is on the line, and not only soldiers but children and families that are also families of those soldiers, right?
Yes.
Do you feel like the rest of the private sector here is aligned on what you're talking here? Are you one of the outliers, or do you see a lot of similar conviction and activity both in the private side and in the public side, in Denmark, for example?
Look, I mean, I'm very proud to be, having a headquarter in Copenhagen in Denmark in that sense. Obviously, a lot of things has happened since the invasion in 2022. In the beginning, it was not very common that companies came out and were very outspoken about what they meant. But I think that has changed a lot, and it's definitely a minority of Danish companies that are not directly or indirectly involved in assisting Ukraine as much as possible. I'm also represented in our business association here, the Danish industry, and my impression is that, I mean, very large, definitely the majority of all companies in this country are behind Ukraine. And if you look at the government and the public institutions, and you look at we have a majority government at the moment, consisting of different parties. But one thing is for sure, not only the government, but also a wide majority of parliament is supporting Ukraine. And considering the size of this country, we're only 6 million people. I mean, the Danes went from 5.5 to 6 million people, which is like, whoa, that's big news, right? Taking into account how small we are in absolute numbers also one of the biggest contributors to Ukraine. So, and I'm very proud of that.
I think that's definitely something to be proud of. And as a nation and as a society, I think that's what's most important, to be jointly in this whole support question. Do you think in being involved with Nadija specifically, does it change for you your perception towards it and perhaps to Ukraine, having own children, or being were you born in Poland? I think.
Yes,
just looking
I was born in Poland,
because that's also perhaps something that hits a little bit closer home, having that connection.
Well, actually, my dad was originally from Ukraine.
Yeah.
So in bloodline, I'm half Ukrainian, you can say.
Right.
Or at least Polish, Ukrainian, whatever you want to.
They're still quite intertwined.
Remember, one has to say yes. But well, your question about children, I think I generally think that everyone who has children will understand the importance and the consequences of kids being involved or being very close to a war situation, both psychologically and physically, and what it means for future generations as well. Because we have to remember that these kids will grow up and become adults, and so this will have replicate effects throughout generations. And that's why I think this initiative is extremely important, because we're trying to grasp and get the best out of what we can do now in order also for the future generations not to suffer too much, and also to get as much experience out of this as possible. So when we go into other conflicts, not only in Ukraine, but in, as you said, with the virtual hospitals and the R&D done in this respect, to make sure that we will behave even more intelligently and having more precautions set up in time when unfortunately humanity comes into these situations where we go to war.
No, absolutely. And I mean, unfortunately, it is a rather under-researched field.
Really, I mean, yes,
there is a lot of experience. I mean, experience is the least we could take out of it, because that experience is what Ukraine has without asking for it. So first of all, we help them, we build it out, we gain even more experience, but we can then also transfer it outside, perhaps even benefiting not countries at war like Denmark, because mental health is a big problem.
It's a big problem everywhere, right?
Exactly.
Yes. So systematically addressing it, having the funds to address it in an intelligent way, and also looking at it from not just a physical but a virtual perspective, where you can augment and replicate the positive findings, is extremely important.
Yeah, and that's again where the benefits of digitalization come in. Do you have any take of, when working with healthcare, mental health, well-being from the digital perspective, what should we keep in mind? How can we best deliver solutions that work and replicate the physical alternative sufficiently?
Look, it's always been the case with technology basically, but also, I mean, in general digitization, it's like a two-edged sword, right? So I'm a total optimist and enthusiast when it comes to technology. I love technology. I love the mere fact that we're changing the world so rapidly for a better place to be if we use technology the right way. I'm not especially fond about social media, and I don't really like it too much, and I think it's taken too much of an influence and is a time killer for. But every time everyone talks about artificial intelligence, for instance, or digital twins, they tend to look at all the negative possible consequences of that, instead of looking into how this technology can be used as a very positive driver to create both growth and welfare. And I think when it comes to mental health, we have only seen the very top of the iceberg. I'm absolutely certain that with pattern recognition, intelligent AI, but even simple things like making sure that diagnoses go faster, or just getting information at your fingertips faster to people who will then be able to help the ones in need. I mean, things like that are just crucial, and it might sound simple, but technology would be a huge help in those respects. And I mean, as you said, rightly said in your comment, that it does not have to be applied only in direct wartime situations. I mean, we just recently delivered to the majority of Norwegian municipalities a solution for Norway to administer and to deal with kids in distress, handling very difficult cases with families with children that also have mental problems, and having experience of how to use technology, both to administer but also to point at the particular solutions, is great. Also in peacetime.
No, you don't have to wait for the war to actually start implementing scalable solutions like that. I mean, the obvious benefit, as you said, that it's very scalable and you can reach so many people without even needing physical infrastructure. But why not do it today here? Do you think Denmark is good with that when it comes to mental health and healthcare, when it comes to digital solutions?
Listen, we have challenges like any other country. I think what we're good at here is, maybe it's because we're a small country, but also that we are very digitized and there's a lot of trust. So Danes they do believe more, I think, in their government than in general countries do. And that is an advantage, in a sense that you can more quickly adopt new ways of operating, and you can also test out things faster maybe than in many other countries, which I really like here. And that's also why we are using in Denmark, as in many cases, as a prototype country for many things, because extremely digitized, a much more trust environment when it comes to digital tools and means, and a government that has, I mean, despite whether it's one or another government, enjoying trust within their population.
I think trust is really what's crucial, and that's going to be the case in Ukraine as well. I mean, you can create a great product that is integrated into the governmental structures and all that, but if there is no trust involved, honestly, that's probably not going to go far.
Exactly.
Yeah, and how do you think the trust is built? Because obviously, I could imagine it's just from trust in the system and the side and from the track record, but what concrete measures can be taken to improve that and improve adoption of technologies in countries where perhaps trust is not a given?
Well, trust is built up gradually, and unfortunately it takes time, but it's only built up by continuous delivery. What is trust really? It's about doing what you say you want to do. It's about delivering on your promises. Okay. So trust is gradually built up. That goes also for trust in between human beings, right? It can take some time to build up trust, but it can take only a few seconds to destroy it again.
Oh yeah.
So I think it's a question of continuously building up trust based on results and actions.
No, it is. I mean, especially actions, because you would much rather let your actions speak for your words, or however you present.
You don't have to succeed every time, but just that everyone can see that you're genuinely trying.
At least you tried,
and there's a good purpose of what you're doing. That builds up trust.
Excellent.
I think hopefully that's one of the positive things about the situation Europe is in right now. We're getting much more together, and hopefully we're also building up more trust in terms of that we can stand on our own feet, and that we have populations that care.
It is. I think the feeling of being European is something that is gaining a whole new meaning as of latest. So let's just translate it into action now. I guess that's the biggest challenge now.
That's a good example, right? So the Europeans have been very critical towards the EU system in itself, and it's always been about what can we get out of that system as a separate country or geography. Whereas I think now there's a different sense to it. Everyone understands that Europe and the EU is important, and it plays a role. We probably all agree that it could be better. We could do more and be more efficient and be more pragmatic, and we could do a lot of things for the EU to work in a much better way. But I think in general there's a more positive sense toward this idea of uniting and sharing the same values, the values that Ukrainians are fighting for.
Exactly. And now we're talking a little bit more in terms of the development and perhaps vision for the future and how it's going to be like, hopefully for the better side, and just tying it to Nadija. Nadija means hope in Ukrainian. And I think that's what the whole initiative is really centered around hope, bringing back hope to the families. And I think that's just something that drives us forward, just having hope ourselves. But thinking about the future on your end, how would you view the next 5 to 10 years? Would you say you're hopeful for the future?
Well, hopeful is a good word, but hope is not. Hope is an extremely important thing to have in anything you do. Hope is. That's why it's always mentioned as one of the most important drivers within any type of human behavior and human motivation. However, hope without being substantiated in something concrete, hope is not enough. You can hope from here to eternity, right? You need to do something, and that's why I think this initiative is great. The more we act, the more hopeful we deserve to be as well. And those two go together. And in that sense, I think it's extremely I'm a very privileged person, and so is this company, that we are in a situation where we can actually deliver solutions that has a genuine, real effect on people's and businesses and countries' way of operating and living.
It does connect back to the purpose side of things, doesn't it?
I mean, that's why you wake up every morning and you want to go to work, right? And you want to fight for it. And so, yes, hope is important, but it has to be anchored in real actions.
Yeah, well said. I think that's something to keep in mind for everyone. I think not only for the ones working with Ukraine or working to deliver solutions like this, but it can be a very just general sentiment, to be honest. And as for the last question, just if you would have a go to the stage in front of the whole of Denmark, in front of the whole of private sector, would that be a message or something you would wish to see more of if we talk about Ukraine, digitalization, or anything else that we talked about? Do you think that they need a little bit of a motivation on some of the aspects? If we talk about Denmark and perhaps on the Nordic side of the equation, because that's where the anchoring is mostly for us here.
Well, I think a key message to the Nordic countries, but also to all of the EU, is to believe in that we are, in fact, a unique place. We are historically a major reason why we are where we are as a civilization, and we are in a situation, a historical moment at this time, where we can show that our values, our abilities to act, our strengths, our common competencies can bring us even further. And this is not the end of an era; it's just the beginning of a new one, where you will play a vital role, and we all have to believe in that. And I think the whole Ukrainian situation is a very good reminder that it doesn't come for free.
Should not take things for granted.
Hey, but there's no reason to think that we will not prevail as long as we stick together and we work hard for it.
Yeah, beauty and unity. I think that's going to be the motto for the years to come. Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for your time, André.
No, Roland, thank you for making it over here. And
yeah, no, absolutely.
Hopefully I'll see you very soon again.
No, we'll do. Now we're on the beginning.
Take care, my friend.
Lovely. Thank you.